Welcome back, artists. Today we are going to be painting our clay creatures. Remember, it is expected that you use a color group. Green is my favorite color, so I'm going to actually use the secondary colors. I'm going to have green, purple, and orange. So when you are painting, we're using Tempur cakes, so you want to make sure that you are using water to get the paint to work. So I dipped my brush in the water. I'm swirling my paintbrush in the paint with the water. Notice how my brush is now green. That tells me that my brush is loaded. And I'm gonna start by painting the base of my bird. So I want this to be mostly green. Notice how I'm holding it in my hand. I'm supporting my painting hand by having my pinky touching the project, so it gives me some stability. I don't want to have my hand floating in the air because then it's really hard to paint a nice smooth line. I don't want to push too hard with the brush, and now you can notice that the paint isn't really covering very well, so that tells me that I need more paint. When you first get started with your Tempur cakes, you're going to want to dip your brush every time you need more paint so that you can make more paint. And I'm going to carefully go around the edges. It's a little bit easier because I'm holding this in my hand. And again, I'm supporting my hand with my pinky so it's not floating. And I'm gonna carefully, some of these areas are pretty small, so I need to keep my brush kind of low so I can get all of the green around the eyes without actually getting the eyes. And then more water, more paint, scooting that in, getting all the way around. So my first job is to paint the background. I'm gonna continue make all the parts I want of my bird green. Now that I have the base of my creature all painted, I'm going to want to switch colors because I want these parts to stand out. If I painted everything green, then the wings and the beak and all that stuff wouldn't really stand out. So I'm going to move to purple next, but it's important that I clean out my brush. And remember, when you clean out your brush, you're tapping your brush at the bottom very gently. You can see how that's separating the bristles, helping to get all of that paint out. You want to check on your paper towel. Make sure that what you see is just water. There's no color. See, there's no green in this water, so my brush is clean. And now I'm going to use my next color. I'm gonna go with some purple. Now, these things stand out a little bit. So I need to also not only paint the top here, and if I have a texture, which I do, I'm gonna wanna make sure I use the tip of my brush so that I can get all of those white spots painted. If it's not going where I want it to anymore, remember, more water, swirl on your paint, and then back to your area. It will take a little bit of time to get all of that texture filled in, but it's gonna look much nicer without any white peeking through. And then again, I'm supporting my hand using the edge of my brush. I kind of push it down and then pull it along on that edge to get all the way to the green. I don't want to have any white areas between these two colors. So I'm very carefully doing that edge. This is the trickiest part when you paint something that's three-dimensional, is trying to get all of those edges nice and neat. Now I have a little part that sticks up here. I'm gonna just leave that green because I'm afraid if I try to get the purple on the backside, I'm just gonna turn the body of my bird purple, which I don't want. And I don't think that's gonna be too visible to the viewer, so I'm going to focus on keeping the green and the purple where I want it. So now this side is all painted. You'll also notice this paint dries pretty quickly. There's just this little spot here that is still wet, but I do want to be careful about how I'm holding it so that I can finish. It's a good idea to do the texture first, so see how I'm doing the tip into those spots first to make sure those are filled, and then I can go over the top to fill in the surface. It's a little bit easier that way. And now here's the tricky part again, doing that edge, pushing the brush down and then just pulling it along. Instead of doing little swipes with your brush, that's really hard to control. So push down and pull along. This one has a little bit more space, so I'm gonna maybe get a little bit of this purple underneath, but I'm not gonna worry about it too much. So notice how I'm holding this in my hand, supporting it so I can see where I'm painting, turning the object a lot, turning my creature to make sure I fill it in completely. And I'm just going to continue with this technique until all of my things are painted.